Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Vino Frankel, a Taste of Sculpterra. I am your host, Paul Frankel. Thank you for tuning in. Before you go any further, please give us a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching. It's a wine show. We talk about wine, grape growing, winemaking, our own wines and labels. Today, we're going to taste a French wine. So we've got some wine from out of the area, all the way from France. So thanks again. We're going to go through lots of topics today. We've got our animals in the vineyard section, event calendar, what's happening in the vineyard. We've gotten a lot of rain, which has been fantastic. We're really thrilled with that. I've got two guests here in the Paso Robles podcast studios with me. Will is across from me. It's his first time on the podcast. Will, if you could introduce yourself a little bit here.
Sure. Hello, I'm Will Barnaby. I'm with Central Coast Lending. We are a direct lender. We do loans. We do loans on manufactured homes, on houses, on property. Let me start that again.
Just keep going.
All right. Yeah, hello, I'm Will Barnaby, Central Coast Lending. We're a mortgage company. We do loans on real estate. We do loans on recreational land, houses. We do some farm loans. If you're looking for a loan and it has real estate involved, we'd love to chat with you.
Yeah, Will has done my own home loans and mortgage. That's how I met him. And what's cool about Will is he really has a good perspective and pulse on the industry and the market and money and finance. And I love talking to him about it because, we own land, we own a winery, and it's interesting just to learn how the big picture of it all works and how the area of Paso has grown so much, and there's hotels coming in all the time and areas expanding. So thank you, Will. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about everything. And
looking forward to
our next guest, we've got Darren Brown back again. Darren?
Yeah, Darren, tasting room assistant manager, token Brit at Sculpterra. I'll be the wine nerd next to the guy with the degrees. I'm the wine nerd.
Yep. We're tasting lots of Pinot Noir today. Pinot, we're one of the only vineyards east side of Paso that grows Pinot. Thought it'd be fun to try our 2023. That was our new release. Came out last year, and we're going to compare it to 2022. And then we also have a French Pinot Noir. So we'll try ours, compare it to the French, and talk all about it. So we do that at the end of the podcast. But first, let me recap a bit of what's going on in the winery and vineyard. As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast today, we've had a lot of rain. We're up to 16 inches of rain, which is excellent. Our yearly average in Paso is probably 10 inches of rain. So we're well above that. Our creek's been running. It stopped on Saturday, but we had time to go in it and play and enjoy it. We're having a lot of, we finished pruning, and we haven't had any bud break yet, so the vines haven't pushed new growth, which is good. And what's interesting is that it was so cold last week, especially in the soil. The temperature of the soil is cold, which will delay bud break, keep the vines from growing out too early. It's like if you have a garden at home, you want to wait till the temperature of the soil starts to heat up. This week is hot. This week is starting to warm up. We're having a pretty crazy transition of weather from last week to this week, where it was cold and rainy. We had a really wild storm, lots of thunder and lightning on Tuesday night. I'm sure you guys experienced that. That was very different to experience in Paso. It was real lightning and thunder. That was last week. This week it's warming up into the upper 70s even. So I am expecting the vines to start to wake up a bit and start to push growth. Hopefully not right now, maybe end of March, April. We'll see. So we'll see how things happen. Yes, so I'm not doing vineyard tours. I've had a lot of requests to do vineyard tours with our wine club members, which is a big perk. If you're in the wine club, you get a free vineyard and winery tour with me. I usually do them on Fridays. Super fun. It takes 2 to 3 hours to see the property. I've got a bunch of them scheduled in March now that the roads are wet and we can't get around everywhere, but in a couple weeks we'll be good to go. So if you're a wine club member and you want a tour, email me, paul@sculpterra.com, and we'll start talking about it. I love giving the tours, and it's really great because you don't get to see the property from the tasting room. You're seeing part of the property, one corner of the property, but when we go around, you really see it all and experience it all. So we are going to plant 10,000 Cabernet vines. I've been talking about this. So we're getting 2 blocks ready for that. We're fixing wire and stakes and trellis and end posts and getting it all prepared because the vines are coming in May. So that's new and exciting. We're planting right behind the tasting room and then up on the hilltop cab with some new Cabernet vines. We've racked a lot of wines this week. Last week was we're checking for malolactic fermentation, which stay tuned. Later in this episode, I'm going to talk about what malolactic fermentation is. It's the conversion of malolactic to lactic acid by bacteria. I'll get more into that. But we monitor that after the wine is made and aging in oak barrels. And most of our lots are done. In fact, we just have 2 lots left. We have one more lot of Cabernet that needs to finish malolactic. And then we have a Primitivo lot that hasn't even started malolactic fermentation because it's high alcohol, the wine got cold, so it's struggling and sluggish. But I'm going to bring those barrels outside now, put them in the sun now that it's in the upper 70s, and that should warm up the wine and maybe kick off the malolactic fermentation to start going. So that's the Vineyard Winery. I'm going to ask Will some questions to get our podcast going. Will.
Yes.
What do you think of my hair?
I like your hair.
You have nice hair. Maybe we should ask what I think about your hair.
Oh, I don't know. I have a couple buddies that have no hair, and I'd let it grow a little bit, and they seemed a little jealous, so I just kept going.
When I met you, you had short hair, didn't you?
Yeah, typically it's short. But I tell you what, I've got some pictures from the 80s where it was much, much longer.
Okay.
You were probably not even born yet.
Born in 86.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 86 to 89. I got some good pictures I'll show you later.
Okay.
Not on air.
Now, when did you open your business, Central Coast Lending?
Well, I didn't open Central Coast Lending. I started about 23 years ago. And at the time, I was working under a name called Edge Mortgage. And then Dan Podesto and Jason Grody had Central Coast Lending. Financial crisis happened, and we kind of joined together. And I've been working with them since it's been about 21 years. It's been a while. My daughter was very young when we kind of combined and made it through that tougher time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been a long time. It's been a long time from brokering to being a non-delegated lender, then to being a delegated lender, gone all the way through the whole system. So,
wow, it's
been a good group. It's been a good experience.
And you've always lived in Paso, or how did you discover Paso?
No, I came to Paso. I had a 3-year no comp clause. So we came up here to waste 3 years when my son was born, and never left. Never left. That was 28 years ago. It was October of 97. I came, and I'm a military brat, so I moved all the time. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere in Paso. So came here, kind of fell in love with it. Got to tell you, it was a different town back then. It was a little sleepier. Now it's definitely more lively. Mm-hmm. A lot to do with the wine industry.
And you've sold, you don't sell properties, but you've...
No, I had a real estate license for years. I don't have one anymore, but the only properties I've ever sold were my properties. And I didn't list them. I just, sold them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've never actually been on the sales side of real estate. But deal with the realtors, deal with buyers and sellers pretty much on a daily basis.
Yep. Okay, what wine are you drinking right now at home, or what wines are you enjoying?
See, I got to tell you, I didn't know why you invited me. I don't know much about wine, but I pretty much drink whatever my son opens. Sometimes what my wife opens, but a lot of Pinot.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure I just mispronounced that on a wine show.
Pinot Noir. No.
Pinot Noir.
Sounded good.
I tried real hard. Mispronouncing things are my hobby. It's what I do, so...
So your wife likes wine, your son likes wine?
I like wine.
You like wine.
I just don't know as much about wine as I know about whiskey.
Okay.
I know a little bit more about that, but we've drinking a lot of your wine. In fact, I was drinking some of your wine on Sunday, I believe. Sunday, it was white wine. The lady said it had a 97-star rating or something to that effect.
Okay.
Awesome. She told me it had won awards, and we drank it. It was great. It was great. But typically I like wine with food. And usually I am going to allow somebody that knows more about it than me pick it, if that makes sense.
Yep. That's very smart.
All right, there you go.
Okay, Darren, what do you think of my hair? No, we talked about Will's hair.
It looks good. I had hair halfway down my back once back in the 90s. And now I'm more aerodynamic, I guess.
You look fast.
Sometimes I wish I had hair back, but only if the hairline was like at a reasonable level. It just kept creeping back and back. So, yeah, you have glorious locks. I no longer do.
He almost Superman-like hair is what he's got going on.
Darren, you had a birthday. Your birthday was Saturday the 15th.
Yeah.
Mine was Tuesday the 17th. What did you eat on your birthday?
Tomahawk steak. It was great.
See, I've never heard of a tomahawk steak.
So
I don't know about this.
If you think halfway between a rib roast and a ribeye, it's still the bone in, but they give you enough to hold on to, like caveman fashion, if you do want to eat it like that. So, yeah, it's a 2-pound steak.
Is it well cooked? How do you like it?
Yeah, rare, medium rare. It's the best way to have it.
Think Fred Flintstone.
Yeah,
Big steak.
Tomahawk
steak.
Okay.
From Sinton and Sons, our local butcher. I can recommend them.
So, Darren, you are English, British.
Yeah.
Do you like to be called British or English?
I'm happy with either. Yeah. British. I get called English more here than British, which is it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. And you're becoming American, or is that right? Or
That's the aim. Yeah. I want to go through the whole naturalization process. I'll learn all the politics and stuff here, which I've always been a bit apathetic about in the past, but of course it's part of getting through the process here. So yeah, this year maybe.
Okay. Exciting times becoming an American, all the way from England. Will, I want to turn over to you now. We'll spend a couple minutes here talking about the role of financing in vineyards and winemaking. I know rates changed a lot when I first bought my house. It was my current rate is 2.875, I think 2.785.
My memory's not quite that good.
And
yeah, it's in the twos. I know that.
Yeah, and then rates. I know that changes a lot, so I know that has a big role in everything that you do. But can you kind of tell us where the market is right now, where it's heading, and
as
loans?
Far as real estate? Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the rates seem to be coming down. One of the big misconceptions that people have is when the Fed lowers rates, they think immediately that mortgage rates are going to go down, and that's not true. The short-term window rate or the Fed funds rate is the rate at which banks borrow from other banks overnight to make sure they meet liquidity requirements. The intention is to bring the cost of credit down or up, depending on which direction they're moving over time, and it does do that. But it's not an immediate thing. I think people have started getting used to the fact that 2.875 or 2.125 or whatever they were back in those days is kind of gone for a minute. So the market definitely seems to be picking up as far as buyers coming in. There's more houses coming on and the rates are coming down. So things are starting to get better. Things are undoubtedly starting to pick up. There's also additional products that have been released that are helpful, bank statement loans and things like that, particularly for self-employed people. But, I feel like everybody is waiting for some serious moves, like some serious quick moves. And I just don't think that that's coming. I think it's just going to kind of be steady. I do think at the end of the year, you might see rates a little bit better. As those come down, the price of the properties will go up. So that's just kind of the way that goes. But I do think it's going to come. It's going to improve, gradually over this year and next year, and the rates will continue to come down, which will be helpful. The other thing that needs to happen, though, is we need to get insurance straight in the state of California, and that's proven to be somewhat more difficult, and that's sticking around a little bit.
Insurance, you're talking about health insurance?
Homeowners insurance. Yeah, the state tries to burn down every summer, and that's caused us a lot of problems. The regulators didn't let them, raise rates with the risk over time, and now they're trying to catch up. And a lot of the insurers have left the state or aren't writing new business in the state, basically. But that too is starting to improve. So I think you're going to see a big step up from the last 3 years. If you're looking for property, now I think would be a good time. Particularly millennials need to get out there and get their foot in the door to stay in the area.
What do the rates need to be for people to make the plunge and to buy a home or buy property? What are they waiting for? What is the...
I think when people start to see a 5 handle on the front of a rate, that they're going to start jumping, and I'm seeing those now. The 5%, high fives are starting to come back in. But, you got to strategize. Like sometimes, the rates come down, particularly if there's a quick move down, the pricing of the properties are going to go up, and it's all about affordability. So a lot of times what people need, and they need to remember, is they need a strategy. Like sometimes it's just step 1. And in order to get to step 2, they got to take step 1. And step 1's getting into the property. So I am somewhat of the opinion, and I may be biased because of what I do, that, people should the sense of urgency should start to grow a little bit now. Because, again, pricing will go up as rates come down. The rate's temporary. The price that you pay in the principal balance is less temporary. It does obviously come down over time.
Right. Have prices in Paso come down? Land prices, home prices?
Some properties. That's kind of hit and miss in certain areas, but it's been relatively stable in comparison. You're definitely not seeing the massive appreciation that you were seeing during the COVID years. Like things were going nuts, right? Mm-hmm. If the property's priced correctly, they seem to move. There are quite a lot more price reductions, but it's kind of like the George Carlin thing. My stuff is stuff and your stuff is a bad word that I won't say.
So what do you, should buyers invest in Paso Robles? Or you encourage people to, like you're saying, don't wait for the rates to drop anymore. Just make the plunge now because prices are going to go up.
I am of the opinion that they should, but keep in mind, like I love Paso. Like we were talking about before we started the podcast, I wasn't supposed to stay here. I was supposed to be here on a 3-year deal and have never left. And now it's 28, almost 29 years later. So I love the place. It seems to be growing, the activity. It's tougher for the young folks. I mean, that's kind of what we really need to focus on here, is making sure that we can, keep the younger people here so we don't end up newlyweds and almost deads, right? So, but those folks need to be able to get into housing. The rates will definitely help. But again, they got to keep in mind the pricing of the properties will also adjust. And Paso is, uniquely located, I would say, in the state of California. You can get to the coast, you can get to the mountains, you can get to LA, you can get to the Bay. It's a beautiful area. If you haven't been here, you should come. It's a beautiful place to visit. Come drink wine for a weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I was always told, and I think it's true, that you only have to buy one home. You have to start with one home, and then once you have that one home, you sell it and you can upgrade it. But you have to start with one. But how do you start with one if you're a young person fresh out of college, you just got a job, you're paying off your college debt? I mean, I don't understand how young people can buy a home unless they get a loan from their parents, which is what I did. I got a loan from my parents, and that helped me to purchase a future home. I also had some stocks that my grandfather owned, that my grandfather bought in my name. Gotcha. Sold that, had some more money. So I don't know how someone could do it young.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, you've got to, make it a priority. But I would say that you're right. Getting the first house is important. I mean, that's part of. I think I do things a lot differently than most people. Like, I want to know what's step 1, what's step 2, what's step 3. Like, where do you want to end up? And very rarely is the property that you buy. Your very first property is a property you're going to live in for the remainder of your life. I mean, that doesn't really happen very frequently. So some of it is just getting the idea in their head that, hey, you got to start. You got to get the first property, even if it's something that's not ideal, but meets the minimum requirements, and then move on from there. Because your second property is frequently purchased with the equity from your first.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and I don't know that it was ever easy. I mean, I have a meeting, once a month with a group of guys that are all of different generations. Like, it's a generational thing. And the young people definitely feel like it's harder on them. And I agree that it's harder on them, but it wasn't easy on us. Yeah. And you're much younger than me. I don't know about you. You're probably in that ballpark.
Yeah, my uncle told me, my Uncle George, when he bought his home, his rate was 18%.
Oh yeah,
that he had to pay, and he was trying to make an extra payment every year. I don't know.
Try to knock it out.
How do you do that?
Well, when I bought my first house, the rate was in the high 7s, and my parents thought it was the greatest thing ever. That how did you even get that? And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. So where rates are at is often just perspective. But again, it's really about affordability. So, I mean, it's a combination of pricing, of rates, of insurance cost, the whole 9 yards, so, but I mean, if you are like me and you've fallen in love with the area, and you're unlike me and you're young, I would say it's time for you to start making efforts and at least make a plan, how you're going to get into the first house and how you're going to, create a life here. Because I don't really feel like it's going to get cheaper. I mean, it's a pretty ideal area.
Right.
Yeah. And it's getting more and more desirable all the time. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about what happened during COVID. Like, everybody shut down, and then all of a sudden people realized, or a lot of industries realized, that they didn't need to come in to work in any one specific geographic location, and the flood of people that came in here. And I remember thinking, are all these people going to love this place still on an average Tuesday in November? Or are they just coming here for like wine festival and the fair or whatever other attractions we have, and think that this is the way this place is all the time? And, I somewhat suspected that some of them would leave, and they did not. They have stayed. So I was wrong. It's a nice area. So that's my suggestion, is try to get your foot in the door.
Now, do you have experience in helping with helping wineries and vineyards, getting loans, lending?
Less, but yes. Like, we've done a lot of ag loans.
Have you seen any change in the ag arena?
Sure. Particularly in the hobby farmish area, the smaller type stuff, there's a lot more product available. There's even recreational land loans going on now. So that's really starting to loosen up. And I think banks are starting to try to get into those niches a little bit more. As far as the other larger ag loans, like, most of those end up as a government loan or a conventional kind of loan with Farmer Mac. But the USDA does a lot of different loans for planting and other things. That's a brokered scenario for us. Like, we broker that to a different bank, but we have 4 or 5 banks that, buy those things. And they're competitive. They compete for the business. So
you would encourage people to buy vineyards and wineries right now if they can? Yeah,
that I don't know. that I'm not sure. Like, I mean, you might know more about that than I, but I would say investing in Paso Robles land, no matter what the intention is a good idea. You know what I mean? As far as, are you the right person to grow wine? I mean, I've got to tell you, I'm very impressed with people that know how to do it. I don't even know half the words that you said in the introduction. So, I would say that if you're gonna buy a vineyard, you probably need to know what you're doing. You probably need to know how to plant, or what do they used to call it? A gentleman farmer? Is that the words that I think they used to call it a gentleman farmer, which basically meant you own the land and you leased it out to someone else to farm. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends that make wine. And there's a lot of knowledge that you need, and the guy that was a government employee for 40 years that decides that he wants to buy a job, which I see frequently, maybe they need to get educated on the wine a little bit more before they do that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm talking about, so there you go.
What's the Williamson Act? People ask me about this, and I don't know what the Williamson Act is. Can you explain that?
It's a property tax shelter, right? So it limits the property taxes on properties if they put them in the Williamson Act. And basically they're saying that they're going to continue to have some sort of ag activities, whether that's grazing cattle or whatever the case may be. So it's a lower tax base. It makes farming more affordable.
And you have to be grandfathered in, or can new properties fall under the Williamson Act?
I don't know. I think that there's an application process for it that you can apply, but I may be incorrect. Maybe there's something that I haven't heard yet, but yeah, the properties that we come across that are in the Williamson Act, it's really just lowering the tax base, and it's lowering the tax base, I think, permanently on the property, as long as it, retains that designation.
Okay. Perfect. Well, anything else you wanted to add about? I wanted to ask you this question before we move on. Me as an investor, where would you point me to invest? Investing in stocks, bonds, gold, property. What would you say? How would you encourage me to invest? Maybe this is not your...
How would I encourage you to invest, like right at the moment? I'm not real sure. I think real estate's pretty steady. And like right now we're coming into what's going to be volatile. The AI situation, the quantum computing situation. I think that, there's some big changes that are coming. And that's going to create volatility. So it just kind of depends upon what your risk tolerance is. Real estate's always pretty steady. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And then, I forgot to say crypto. Cryptocurrencies everywhere. Everybody that I know under 35, is big investing into crypto. But these things are very volatile at the moment. And there's a lot of things that are somewhat uncertain.
Well, what about... gold? I bought my son a gold ounce when he was 5 years old. He was so excited. It was $1,800, and now it's $5,000 an ounce for gold. Is that just going to continue to go up?
That's hard to say. See, and that's kind of what's surprising about rates, because gold is... People buy gold when they're trying to preserve their wealth, right? People buy stocks when they're trying to make money with their money. So when they think things are good, they're going to go out and they're going to buy, equities. They're going to buy stocks. They're going to try to make some money with their money. When people think the sky's falling, they put it into treasury notes or gold. But it's been somewhat odd because, rates have remained somewhat high. The treasuries have remained high. Mortgage-backed securities have remained somewhat high, even though they've come down recently. And when I say high, I mean the yields. Right. And then gold has just skyrocketed in value at the same time. So there's more and more money going into gold. So typically, if people believe the sky's falling, they're buying securities. And when there's a ton of demand for securities, those yields go down. And theoretically, gold should also go down. So I think that there's a major split in what people believe is going to happen, amongst just everyone in society, and what you're seeing is things act in ways that they don't typically do. So gold's going to hold in there for a while, as long as 40-50% of the population believe that the sky's falling.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And there's always people believing that the sky is falling.
Oh, I've met a few. Yeah. Yeah.
That's always how our world is going to be.
Yeah. People that have food that will last 40 years,
right?
Stuff like that. So
Y2K.
Oh, I remember Y2K. It feels like it was yesterday. I was
kind of a letdown.
Yeah, it really was. I wanted something to happen. There was a big build-up for nothing on the Y2K deal.
Okay, thank you, Will. Interesting. Great stuff. Let's go to Darren. Darren, you were talking about Pinot Noir. We grow Pinot at Sculpterra. People are surprised that we grow it. It impresses them, intrigues them. And take it away, Darren. Tell us about Pinot Noir.
Yeah, so Pinot Noir has been cultivated for over 1,600 years. It's a well-known, popular grape variety, most synonymous with Burgundy, of course. The name is thought to have come from the French word for pine, so the shape of the pine cone most likely relates to the shape of the cluster on the vine, but there's a lot of variation. It's genetically unstable, so there are lots of, they call them clones, but genetic variants, really, of Pinot Noir. There's over 100. Sculpterra has 2 of them, we'll get into. Burgundy sits at 47 degrees north, so it's pretty cool up there, the continental climate. They get a lot of poor weather. The growing conditions are inconsistent, and it's really about, because Pinot Noir is very site specific. So if you have just the right spot halfway up the hill, southeast facing, in the shelter of the wind and that kind of stuff, you've got more potential for good quality wine. And people really do seek out, they'll pay 10 times more for a wine made from grapes halfway up the hill as they will from the stuff in the valley floor, which is considered lesser in quality. It really does make that much of a difference in Burgundy. So it was in the 1390s, the Duke of Burgundy banned Gamay, which I think is a really nice grape variety. You find that in Beaujolais wines. He essentially pushed it out of Burgundy. He reckoned it was vile. So even as far back as the 1300s, they were making rules around grape growing and winemaking in France. As I say, you'll hear stories about some of the Burgundy wines fetching huge amounts of money. Romani Conte is one of the most well-regarded and expensive wines in the world. And if anybody has one for us to try, by all means, send it in. I think the 2005 is selling for $30,000 right now, which is obscene, let's face it. And it's a completely different market, really. You'll find with the genetic diversity, with all the clones, you have variations and we have 2 at Sculpterra. So Paul, can you tell us a little bit more about those clones that we have?
Yeah, just like Darren's saying, we grow clone 115 and 777. From what I've learned and researched, the 115 is this French Entov clone, so it's more conducive maybe to the French climate and originates from there, obviously, too. But the 115, how it tastes, it's got more structure and color and backbone and a bigger finish, where our other clones 777 or 777, comes out light in color, more like a rosé wine. Yeah, very fragrant, fruity. Doesn't have a lot of structure, but very appealing and soft and tastes nice. So we have these 2 clones of Pinot, which I've contemplated bottling them separately because they are so different from each other, but blended together, they complement and balance one another out. And there's other popular clones. There's 667, there's 2A, there's a Pomard clone. I know a lot of people grow that in Paso. There's 23, so many Pinot Noir clones, and they're all very different. And the Edna Valley in San Luis Obispo, lots of vineyards will grow 4 to 5 different clones of Pinot Noir, just because it adds complexity in the wine. It's still considered Pinot Noir, but those clones make a difference, make a big difference. And even the leaves of Pinot Noir, just you're walking through the vineyard, you're looking at the leaves, one leaf to the next will look different. It'll have more lobes, more veins. One looks like a Bordeaux leaf. One looks like a Burgundy leaf. It's changed a lot, and over time it's mutated. So it's a very interesting grape. There's a lot of research done in Pinot Noir, and I love growing it. I've learned one of the things you have to do is you can't let it get too ripe. So when it reaches 22, 23 bricks, we call it good. Harvest it cold. We pick it at night when it's cold. We get it cold in the tank. I don't use any new oak. I think that's really key too. Maybe in other parts of the world where the Pinot have more structure, a different climate, new oak might complement it. But at least with our vineyard, our fruit, our climate and topography, I just do 2-year, 3-year-old wood, used barrels, and it really complements it. It respects the fruit, doesn't overwhelm the wine with this component of oak that may do too much. So it's very delicate. And then yeast. The Scott's Lab discovered a yeast years ago. 3001 is the name of the yeast. 3001 Space Odyssey is what I call it. And it was a Pinot Noir yeast that was derived for hot climates. So I was presented this yeast by the salesman of Scott's Labs. He said, yeah, this yeast is for people who grow Pinot in Spain or in the hot areas of Italy. And I tried it and loved it. It seemed to just be a strong fermenter and clean fermenter, fast, but yet it preserved the fresh fruity aromas. Really impressed with it. And it didn't get stuck. We say that fermentation gets stuck if the yeast don't complete fermentation all the way. It leaves a little bit of residual sugar in the wine. This yeast never does that. It's just a workhorse, bulldog, strong yeast, completes fermentation, but it imparts interesting notes to the wine. So once I switched to that yeast, which it was new 10 years ago, I've been really happy making Pinot Noir, and I love making Pinot Noir. It's a great wine, and it can be grown in Paso, so I'm a fan.
Yeah, Noir. And so what can you tell us about that spot in the vineyard? Because most people would consider, Pinot Noir, they think about in California, Monterey, Santa Barbara. They don't tend to think of Paso. They tend to think of Paso as like your big Zins and your heavy cabs and Petit Syrah, and Pinot Noir is such a rarity out here. What makes that little spot special?
Yeah, where we planted it is in the valley floor. It's protected by this big hill that surrounds it, and it gets a lot of shade. Every summer day, about 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, that hill shades most of the vineyard, so it protects it from those 110-degree days that we get. And it was a tough area to plant. It's very hard and rocky soils. We had to graft the vines. We grafted Pinot Noir onto Cabernet roots, and we did multiple passes because the vines did not want to take. They did not want to grow there. It was an expensive process. We kept going through and regrafting and replanting. It took years for it to take root and grow and produce. But yeah, it's the coldest location on the property, right by Cathy's Forest. It's funny, whenever I drive the ATV through Cathy's Forest, you just feel this cold air hit you, no matter what time of day it is. It's just, that's where the cold air moves down the canyon and goes through our property. So we planted it in the right location on our property. But then again, I think picking it early and pruning it late so it delays bud break, it'll get ripe fast. And I've seen it jump multiple bricks per week. So you really have to monitor it on a weekly basis when you get close to harvest. But we also transitioned that vineyard to head trained cane pruned. So that'll be more of a classic Burgundian style too, where we have fresh canes every year. Everything is deriving from the head. There's ample space. It's a very healthy environment for the vines.
Right. Yeah, and we've had 31 acres we're there now. That's they're bringing that down to about 10 acres, I think is the total. And is that just picked on where you think the best fruit comes from, the specific site?
Yeah, now we have 3 zones. We have the Escalon, the real steeped section, which has to be hand-picked. It's really, really steep. So, and then we've got the top of the ridge where we've got 115, and then going the other way, we've got 777. So now we have 3 zones of Pinot all in the same block that produce different tasting characteristics, and we harvest them separately, ferment them separately. So yeah, we kind of carved out the best 10 acres from the 30, and with that 10 acres, we're gonna make plenty of Pinot moving forward, and it sells well. I mean, it's one of our best selling wines every year, and people love it. It surprises people. They're not expecting to come to Sculpterra.
Yeah, we've when you think of typical, if there is such a thing as typical Pinot Noir, it tends to be based on tart, crunchy, kind of high acid red fruit, but often with this mushroomy, earthy character. And some people can't get over that earth and the amount of acidity that sometimes comes with Pinot Noir. And I've had a lot of people say, I don't like Pinot, I'm not going to try it. And we have them try it. And they're, I really like this. So, we tend to get a little more pigmentation, maybe, a little more in the way of darker fruit flavors, less of that funk, that earthiness. But it's still there. It wouldn't be Pinot Noir without a bit of earth. So, I think you do a fabulous job with it.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to go to Pinot and Paella at the Templeton Park. They do this event every year. This year it's Saturday, June 7th, and you're allowed to participate if you're a Paso winery that produces Pinot in Paso. So it's a Paso Pinot Noir festival. It sells out, and it's local restaurants making paella, so you got shrimp, bacon, duck, and steak, all kinds of paella in those giant woks, those huge woks. It's great, and it's only Pinot Noir. So we're there, Opolo, Castoro, Wild Horse, Ancient Peaks, all the local wineries that produce Paso Pinot. It's super fun. So look into that Saturday. No, I'm sorry, it's on Sunday, June 7th at the Templeton Park. Templeton Park has a lot of shade too, so you think it's a hot summer day, but there's plenty of shade. Great, a really good event. Have you been to that event, Will? Have you heard of this?
I have not, but you've talked me into it. Maybe because I'm hungry right now, but it sounds brilliant.
Yeah,
and
it's a contest too. So it's a contest. So you vote on your favorite Pinot, favorite paella, and you walk around and try them from the restaurant. So it's local bragging rights.
I'm totally down.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll get you a ticket.
Yeah, let's do it.
I can get people in.
Well, there you go.
Okay. Anything else, Darren, you wanted to add in about Pinot Noir before we move on?
No, I think we're good. It's going to be fun to try some compared Sculpterra to the Burgundy stuff. Although this isn't about who's best.
I think
even if we think we're biased, but there'll be no ratings. We'll only talk about the differences.
What Darren said earlier is really key, is that it really takes on a life of its own depending where it's grown. Where I would say Cabernet, from Napa to Paso to Argentina, right? It has a specific taste, but even more so Pinot Noir. If you change where Pinot is grown, it has a dramatic taste in the wine. Where Cabernet, it does change, but not nearly as much as this will change. Pinot Noir, it's very affected by its climate, by its terroir. All right, well, let's nerd out on wine. I'm combining nerd out on wine and animals in the vineyard into malolactic bacteria, because bacteria being a part of the animal kingdom. Okay. Malolactic fermentation is a secondary process in winemaking where sharp-tasting malic acid is converted into a softer lactic acid by bacteria. So it's a little confusing because it's not a fermentation, it's a bacterial conversion. So it's not driven by yeast, but by bacteria. And the bacteria is Enococcus ini. That's how you say this, Enococcus ini. It reduces wine acidity, enhances the texture, makes wines creamy or even buttery. It's commonly used in all red wines. Typically, if you have a red wine, it's gone through the conversion of malolactic fermentation. And we do it in the barrel. So we pick grapes, you have your primary fermentation, which is sugar. It's converted to alcohol, which could take 1 to 3 weeks. When that's done, the wine is pressed, aged in barrel, and then in the wine barrel is where malolactic fermentation takes place. Now, it could be spontaneous. If you've done it before in that wine barrel, the bacteria will live in the barrel and it'll just do it again for you that next year. Or you can add the bacteria, the Enococcus ini, into the wine, and it'll start the process. Of course, The colder the wine is, the harder it is for the bacteria to do its job and convert malic to lactic. Also, high alcohol wines. So that's where we struggle in Paso. We get Zinfandels that are 16.5, 17% alcohol. And some of those will never go through malolactic fermentation because the bacteria can't survive in that environment. But most wines being 13 to 14.5% alcohol, the ML bacteria does its job. It's a stability thing too, because if your red wines don't go through malolactic fermentation and you bottle them, they could spontaneously go through malolactic fermentation after being bottled. So you'll open a bottle of wine and the wine is active and that conversion is happening after it's being bottled. So you don't want that to happen. So you really want to force malolactic fermentation in red wines as soon as you can. So there's a lot of winemakers nowadays that are doing both fermentations at the same time. They're inoculating for primary fermentation and secondary fermentation in a tank or in a bin when they pick the grapes. I don't recommend doing that because I like the complete primary fermentation, because the malolactic bacteria could eat sugar and create off odors and volatile acidity and weird things happen. So it's nice to complete one fermentation and then start that secondary fermentation. Yeah, it's been, this, I think this, in history of the world, this kind of happened by itself. We didn't understand, why tart red wine became soft and lengthy. Well, it's because of this natural malolactic bacteria that'll do the job for you. It improves the balance of wines. This is really key. I was taught years ago that you don't want tannins and acid together. A wine that is overly tannic and makes you pucker and astringent and bitter, that same wine, if it's tart and has a low pH, high TA, it's hard for your palate to handle that. So if you have a tannic Cabernet, for instance, once it goes through malolactic fermentation and the texture changes from a harsh tart taste to a softer round taste, even if it's tannic and dry, it'll be improved. It'll taste much better. Like I said, you want it to be done because it won't. You want to force it to happen, so it won't happen later when you don't want it to happen. In white wines, we inhibit malolactic fermentation. In Viognier, for instance, our Viognier, we don't allow that fermentation to take place because we want it to remain tart. But lots of Chardonnays. Chardonnay is a great example of people ferment it in barrels and let it go through secondary fermentation, and that's how you get a buttery Chardonnay, milky, creamy, oily. All those descriptors come into play with wines like that. For the last 10 years, there's been a movement to keep our white wines without malolactic fermentation, so you get that fresh, appealing taste, and it stays that way. So it's an important part of winemaking, and I monitor it. So you could do paper chromatography is how a lot of winemakers do it, where you can see how much malic is left in the wine. And once you notice that the malic's all gone, well, it was probably consumed by malolactic bacteria, and now it's converted to lactic. So the process is over. You can rack the wine and top the barrels and leave it how it is. So it's an important part of winemaking.
Yeah, and you get the bonus of that smell of buttered popcorn, the diacetyl, is it, that gives it that aroma? Yeah.
Exactly.
Smells so good.
Yeah, like I said, this is what we're monitoring right now. So I have 2 wines that haven't finished malolactic fermentation, and now we're at the end of February, and it's getting a little close because we need to get the wines, we need to move the barrels. We're bottling some of the wines early, so we can't bottle the wine until it's finished malolactic fermentation. So it's a big part of winemaking. Well, moving on. Our event calendar. Saturday is the blending party. We've sold 9 tickets. I was hoping to sell maybe 15, 20 would be great. 9 is fine. I looked at the guest list. I think I know everybody coming. So this will be just a nice, intimate experience. But you're watching this podcast today on Thursday, you can still buy a ticket. So please, it's a wonderful event. Super fun. You get to be a winemaker for the day. And like this podcast, we nerd out on wine. I tell you lots of grape growing, winemaking, tricks of the trade, my own experiences. There's no secrets in winemaking. We're very open about everything. Very fun. And then Saturday, March 21st, we've got our Taste and Tour event. My sister Faith, we talked about this. Each pairing paired with a different wine around the sculpture garden. Super cool. And then Greek festival. So I'm Greek. My mother's side of the family is from Greece. We used to do this big Greek party every year. We stopped doing it in, I think it was 2019 was the last time we did it, or 2020, and now we're bringing it back. So come to that. That's going to be on April 18th. We're teaming up with the St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in San Luis Obispo, so a part of the proceeds is going to go to support them. And they bring the team of dancers, music. It's a wonderful church. And Templeton Pizza and Greek Food will be doing the catering, and they've got a special menu that they're providing for that day. Too much information, the part of the podcast where I share something personal. I just said I'm Greek, so I wanted to say, tell you a little bit about my Greek side of the family. I've been to Greece twice. I went with my uncle and my cousins when I was in college, which was fun because my uncle and my aunt went off together on one part of the island of Crete, and then my cousins Angela and Anna and I got to stay on a whole other part of the island. And we were young, and we got to go out, and we went hiking and explore Greece on our own. Have either of you two been to Greece?
No.
Darren or Will?
No, I'd like to.
I have, but I was very young. I need to go back now. It would be a different experience.
The food, I couldn't get over the food. And when I took my wife on our honeymoon, because my she loves fresh salad. I mean, she could eat salad, breakfast, lunch, dinner. She loves vegetables. So the Greek salads is just something that, like, doesn't matter where you go. It's just the olives, feta cheese, tomato, chopped up, olive oil. Oh man, salt and pepper. Just perfect. It's so simple, but it tastes so good when you're in Greece too. There's just something special about it. It's so good.
Anything with olives and feta, I'm in.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
They're good in a salad, good on a pizza. I don't know. It's good.
Yeah. What's nuts is I have cousins in Greece that make feta cheese.
Do you
they're
really?
up in the mountains. They're in the Macedonia area. And I got to rent a car and drove all the way there. And the only way I can contact them is if I write a letter. Okay, I haven't contacted them in a couple of years, so maybe they have phones now. But before, you just write a letter. And when you write the letter, you write the lady's name and the town. And the post office guy delivers it to her. There's no physical address. It's just her name, Lola Kalafakis, Lavadi, Greece. Boom. And it takes 3 months to get there, or 2 to 3 months for the letter to get there. And you write her a letter saying, hey, we're going to be in Greece June 18th. We're coming to your house. And I did that. And we showed up, and she was waiting, and she showed me the letter that I mailed her. And it's, that's all I wrote, just her name and the town.
And it got there.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
amazing.
still places in the world that are like that. Yeah. Pretty
I need to
wild.
visit some of those places.
Yeah, this is one of those towns you feel like if you killed someone and you needed to escape, or you were part of the mafia and you needed to hide out and never return, go there, Like, that's what I was thinking.
Not that we condone.
I don't have those plans, Paul.
Don't do that. That was the first thought that came in my mind in that village.
Maybe that's in the too much information one. Just playing.
That's a lot of information. Well, it was funny when we first got there. I was asking Lola to see her mom, because her mom is my grandfather's first cousin. So she said, "Oh yeah, I'll take you." She was speaking Greek, and she said, "Yeah." She takes us to the graveyard. Like, oh, she had just died a couple of years ago, and she was showing us, saying that she had gone to heaven and this whole thing. But it's just like there's one graveyard, one church in the mountains. And a lot of these towns, it's similar in Mexico, they're getting smaller and smaller because the young people move out.
Yeah.
They move out right away. They're like, I don't want to live in this, goat town or sheep town. They want to live in the city. So the town's just shrinking. But now there's people that buy a second home in these villages. So the village is empty a lot of the year.
Yeah.
And then in the summer, people from Athens go back up to their home where they used to live, or where their relatives live. But it's interesting. It's changed a lot.
Oh, it sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
A place where my phone doesn't ding at me.
Yeah, it won't.
Goodness. Goodness.
So I am Greek. Come to the Greek festival. I'm excited to bring this back. My son's gonna dance. I'm hoping he's gonna dance. I'm trying to convince him to dance with to go to the church for a couple weeks, learn the steps. He's a folkloric Mexican dancer. He's part of the local team here, but my wife really wants him to learn to get involved into his Greek ethnicity, his Greek side, because he's a quarter Greek. So now he's got to learn Greek dancing, which is easier than Mexican folkloric dancing. He should be able to do it easily.
Oh, both of them sound too complex for me.
My son's a good dancer.
There you go.
All right. Well, mailbag time. These are some questions that either people have comments or have asked me at wine club parties. So Will's going to ask me 2 questions here.
Oh, here you go. Paul, are you ever going to sell the winery?
Yeah, we're talking about investing in land and properties and stuff. We don't want to sell the winery. We don't have any goal or plan to do that. We want to make it work however possible. I love it. My family loves it. We want to keep it in the family. What's great is it provides for a lot of people. We've got over 20 employees, 25 employees probably, and we don't want to sell. I mean, we've had people buy our sculptures, and people are interested in the big sculptures. Never sold a big sculpture, but we sell a lot of miniature sculptures, so they can kind of take a piece of Sculpterra home with them that way. But we don't want to sell.
Yeah, the sculptures are cool. That is definitely cool. And then, how many cases do you need to sell to make Sculpterra sustainable?
Sustainable, yeah.
That was a difficult word to say.
Yeah, I think 15,000 cases, if we can get to that point. Last year we sold 12,000 cases, which is good, and in today's market and economy and wine world, we were pretty happy with that. But if we can get to the 15,000 cases, which is what I want to produce and sell, if we can even that out, what we make is what we sell. 15,000 cases, should be more than enough to support the employees, the property, the taxes, everything involved. So that's the goal. 15,000 cases. Back in 2021, we sold almost 18,000 cases. So we know it's possible. Our wine is great, and we've got the clientele, and we're just starting to build it up and grow it all again. Well, let's taste Pinot Noir. We've made it to our tasting segment. We've got 3 wines to taste. Typically, we only do 2, so this is different. This is fun. So, what do we got, Darren?
Yeah, so all Pinot Noir. Let's start with the 2023 Sculpterra.
It's interesting. I was looking at the 2023 versus the 2022, and they're almost the same percentages. It's mostly clone 115, and then some 777, but they're only a couple percentage points different. So,
okay, and all the 23 so far, it was we don't get as much vintage variation as some parts of the world, but 23 was outstanding, I think.
Will, before we go any further, can you once again tell people how to find you, who you are, what your business is,
Absolutely,
and what you offer?
I am Will, Central Coast Lending, and we are located in downtown Paso. It's 806 9th Street. If you know where the DMV is and the fire station, we're on the other corner. Right there in downtown. And we do loans on anything that has real estate involved. If you're looking for one, we'd love to chat with you. Love to talk to you about what your goals are in the area and how we can help you achieve those goals and start taking the steps.
Yeah. I liked working with you, Will, because you're a good communicator.
Thank you.
Get back to people quickly, and you have good advice.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're not afraid to, give your opinion. I like something like that.
I've been told that before about the opinion part, not the good advice.
So now we get your opinion on the wine.
Yeah,
23 Pinot Noir.
Yeah, more depth of color compared to many Pinot Noir. You can see it on the...
There we go.
Expect a very pale colored wine, but a little more depth of color.
Yeah, Darren mentioned earthy earlier today, and that's some people are confused by that description, earthy. It's like that musty, mushroom, soily smell. And Pinot is known for that. Or barnyard. Some people think barnyard as a negative term, but it's just a descriptor of Pinot Noir can have that barnyard, wet soil, earthy component to it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of walking through the forest. You find a blackberry bush, get your nose in there.
There you go.
In the background, the whole picture. That's kind of what's going on in this one.
I think I like earthy.
Yeah.
Or barnyard. Or whatever adjectives you want to use.
Yeah, to my mind, the fruit's always got to be the main thing. But anything else you can add to that for complexity is just more interesting rather than just fruit.
Yeah, it seems like Thanksgiving, Pinot Noir and turkey. This is
works great.
Yeah, people want it for Thanksgiving, and I always recommend it. You got to have, especially like Thanksgiving, Christmas. You want a wide array of wines, and this is a light-bodied, medium-bodied wine, so it's a great option for you. Great food and wine pairing. Yeah.
Yeah, for a lighter red, the finish is super long too. It's great.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be tannic, so it's not going to have that dry, bitter, astringent feeling on the side of your mouth. It's just smooth and supple and good finish. 2023. So the next wine we're tasting is 2022, which is the current Pinot release. The 2023 we released early last year, so we've got both available at the tasting room. And I made quite a bit, so these are gonna last us for quite some time. That was the 23. Now we're going 1 year older.
Yeah. So what was the difference with the growing season for 22?
Yeah. The big change was the 23 was the rain year, the 28 inches of rain. 22 is a drier growing season. 23, the grapes got ripe very late, very, very late. So that was the main difference, was we had to hold on to the fruit until it reached maturity, phenological ripeness. 22, the grapes ripened earlier than we're used to. This was beginning September. I think the 23 was later, maybe end of September. We got that on the bottle too. But some of the main differences. But again, like as I was saying, I used the same yeast, 3001 yeast, same barrel program. Trying to pick it early. We ferment it as cold as possible. We bottle it young. So this has been bottled. Both of these were bottled after 10 months in oak, so it didn't have a long time to oxidize or prematurely age. You can see a difference in the color for sure. This has more of that.
Yeah, should we do that?
Not as vibrant red as the 23.
A little more pale.
Yeah, which you would expect on an older wine, on 1 year older. Even just 1 year will make a difference. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, more red cherry on the nose for me.
Yeah, it's hard to choose one over the other. I think they have a similar profile. This one might contain more fruitiness at the moment, perhaps. Very good. Both of these are great. So Pinot Noir, we don't always pour it at the tasting room, but it's always available. We try to pour it every other month, and it's again very unique to the Paso Robles area.
Yeah, that's tasting very good. There's a lot of raspberry on the finish.
Will, do you prefer one over the other? The 23, the first, or the 22nd, the second one?
I don't know. Let me try that first one just a little bit.
We're going back.
Yeah, you need the perspective of someone that knows nothing about what they're talking about. That's
Pinot Noir. What's nice too, I like to mention, it's like as a winemaker. I like
the first one a little more, but I don't know. They're very good.
Yeah,
I like the after.
The 23 is a little more intense, more dark fruit focused. I think right now, although that might change bottle age. 22 is kind of juicy. I think it's tasting so good.
Oh yeah.
It's nice too as a winemaker and a grape grower making Pinot is because it comes in early. We can knock that one out in the early part of of the harvest. And then our Cabernet comes in so late. By the time we pick our Cabernet, we've pretty much finished with primary fermentation and sometimes secondary fermentation on Pinot Noir. So it's great to move it through our tanks and get it done before we pick other grapes. All right, time for the French Pinot Noir.
Time for this one. So this is, and my apologies to anybody French out there. So the producer is Domaine Michel Gros. He's got a number of vineyards throughout Burgundy. This one is from it's Monopole on the label, which means it's a vineyard only he has access to. And it's from the Haute Côte de Nuits, which is to the west of the Côte de Nuits, which is where the most expensive Burgundies come from.
Whoa.
Let's see if it's, a 22. So, and of course, there's a lot of stuff that people talk about with Burgundy is the vintage variation. 2022 was an exceptional year for Burgundy, which for Burgundy means that they only had some frost, some hail, some heavy rain in June, and a very hot summer to finish ripening the grapes. So they don't have the consistency.
Do you think this is considered a young Pinot for them?
I would say so. I mean, like many French regions, all wine regions really, there's always this small handful where the wines may be capable of long-term aging. But the majority of the region, same with Bordeaux, really, it's not like most of Bordeaux can do 100 years. So this kind of wine is a well-known, well-regarded producer, but probably the sort of wine that you want to keep for no more than 10 years, I would say. It's not going to be a super, super long-term aging wine. I didn't pour myself anymore.
Yeah, already on the nose, it has a lot of complexity, a lot of different things happening, where you get the mintiness, earth, smoky qualities to it.
Yeah. And this is a $45 or so wine, so similar kind of price point to the Sculpterra. We'll see the color.
Wow. Yeah, this is one of those wines where the nose is different than the palate. Very different. And I'm always looking at that as a winemaker. Like, does it smell how it tastes? And this has a completely different taste than what you would expect when you smell it.
Yeah, it's perfumey. So
yeah,
it kind of is.
Yeah, the more flowers than fruit up front.
Have either of you been to the World of Pinot in Avila? They do this big Pinot Noir festival, or I think they still do this.
I have not.
And it's, Pinot from, all over the world, big Pinot Noir. People that are into Pinot are into Pinot. I mean, there's...
When is that?
Some serious Pinot snobs. I think it's in the summer. I went one time, and it was just Pinot from South Africa and France and all California, Sonoma, everything, and it's just Pinot Noir and the big wine glasses, the traditional Burgundy glasses, the big lip glasses.
We have some Sculpterra hidden away, don't we?
That makes a difference. We can do a podcast just on same wine, different wine glass.
Yeah, because Pinot Noir is often delicate, isn't it? It's not like a big powerhouse wine that leaps out of the glass. So they generally have a big bowl for lots of collection of aroma. Yeah. This one's like cranberries and hibiscus up front. It's less earthy than some Burgundy I've had. But that's the issue a lot of people have when they're exploring Burgundy is the inconsistency. So you might get fruity floral, or you might get mushrooms and mushrooms in vinegar on the mallow, which is
no. Yeah, I'll admit, I like the nose. I'm not crazy about the taste. It kind of leaves me wanting more. It almost seems it's a little thin. Something about it has a thin...
It doesn't have a finish.
So,
the finish...
For a warm year with an early pick, the alcohol's 13%, so which is lower even than the...
I'll tell you a secret. You guys are talking about different wine glasses with different wine. Mm-hmm. In my house, I change the wine glasses depending upon who's coming and how frequently they drop stuff.
You don't want them to break. That's smart.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely thinner on the mouthfeel. There's no... Compared to the Sculpterra, it's definitely a a lighter, leaner kind of style.
Yeah. I like it. It's good. It's just I'm just want a little more from it, but maybe that changes because I've had Pinots from Windward who they close, but they exclusively make Pinot Noir. And I remember I was tasting in their tasting room and they were tasting 2020 Pinot, 19, 18, 17. And when you tasted the older Pinots, they had more of a finish, which you would expect the opposite. You expect like the younger wine to have more bite and power, but the older wines just kind of lingered and stayed with you. And that's what maybe that's like this wine. It's going to develop more as it ages.
Although that's maybe also why some people they might have had Burgundy like this, which is a perfectly good wine. I think it's a good example of Pinot Noir. But it is different. It's when you have the Sculpterra, it's got more body to it, more richness. Which, if that's what you want from your wine, then you're gonna like ours more.
There we go.
Not that objectively one is better than the other. It's all subjective.
Well, thank you, everybody. This was a super fun podcast. Different. Will did great. Fun to hear his perspective on financing, lending, where we're going. Maybe we should all buy some more gold. If I can afford it, we should buy. Gold keeps going up. But thank you. Please leave a comment. We love answering questions. We post this podcast every week, so please stay engaged and stay tuned. I've got lots of interesting guests coming up in the next couple months, so I'm excited. So, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks for being here.
Cheers.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Darren. We'll be back. We'll see you next week.